Hello there, Wipper here, and once again, welcome back to another GTA 5 mod showcase. Today guys, I am going to be showing you a mod called the Simple Fuel mod. And I know what you're probably thinking after hearing that one. You're probably thinking, Wipper, what are you doing? I'm pretty sure you've already covered 2 fuel mods in the past. Why do we need to be shown another one? But this is definitely by far my favourite one, because it's simple and it has the best way of calculating how much fuel you're using as you're driving around. But to make this slightly more interesting, I have got quite an interesting car that I've installed and I'm going to be using to showcase this mod. So if I turn around, you can see it in all its glory. And I don't know why I was building that up and not showing you it, because it was in the thumbnail. So of course there was no surprise. It kind of ruins it when there's no element of surprise. But yes, in front of me is Mr. Bean's Classic Mini. If you've ever watched any of the Mr. Bean TV series or any of the movies, you're probably going to have instantly recognized this car. It is his iconic car that he drives around everywhere. And more specifically, this one is the one from that TV episode where he has a seat on the roof and he drives his car from the roof. And it's just the most fun episode ever. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you just try and find it on YouTube or something. It's a really fun episode and I'd definitely recommend it. But yeah, so someone has had the brilliant idea to recreate that car with all the minute details. Like you can see here, we've got the string that's attached to the steering wheel and goes up to the chair at the top to steer the car. You've got the end of the broomstick, which is used to poke the pedals, and it's just super detailed. And if you look at the top, in the seat is Teddy, of course. Why not? Just looks so awesome. So well done, so well modelled. And here it is in the lovely green colour as well. Now, if we just hop inside, you'll notice that we don't in fact sit on the roof. And I was a bit disappointed at first when I found this out, because I was thinking it would be so cool you could just see Michael sitting on the roof or something in the chair driving the car. But sadly that's not the case. But the mod creator did leave a little note on the mod topic itself, saying that it was too glitchy to have the driving position be on the roof, and to solve all of the bugs that were associated with the mod, he's had to make it drive from the inside of the car, which is a bit of a shame. But then again, if you think about it, I don't think GTA 5 was created with the intention of people driving cars from the roof. But I have devised a solution to this through the power of the mod menu I'm using. So if I go to the player options, you can see that I can change the player character to be invisible. So now I've completely disappeared, and from the outside of the car it looks like, well, as you can see, it looks like Teddy is driving the car, and I think that's just the best. That is just the best. I'm not driving it anymore, it's Teddy on top, controlling the steering, using the broom. I think that's the best solution I can come up with, really. It's the only way it's going to work, and it looks really cool. So yeah, that's the car I'm going to be using for this video. But anyway, I think I've talked for long enough about the car. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the fuel mod itself. So the first thing I want to draw your attention to is, if you look at the bottom right, we have the speedometer mod. This is Lefix's speedometer mod, and the cool thing is this guy has made it so his 2 mods work together. So you can see next to the speedometer itself we've got a fuel gauge, and it shows my current fuel level. And I just really love that both of his mods work well together. But if you don't want to use the speedometer mod, if you look in the bottom left below the minimap, you can see that there's a separate bar which shows up in orange and gives you the fuel level if you don't want to have the speedometer mod installed as well. So there's 2 different options there, and if you actually press F11, there's a full configuration menu where you've got tons and tons and tons of options that you can configure to do with the fuel mod. So yeah, there's that. But I'm not going to go through all the different options because there are so many and they're not all that interesting, but they are cool to have as an option. So let's hide that menu and go for a quick drive here. But yeah, so pretty much how this mod calculates fuel consumption is it's a 1-to-1 ratio between how much throttle you apply. So if you apply 100% throttle, your fuel consumption rate is 100%. So that means if you only apply 20% throttle, like I'm doing right now, the fuel consumption is going to be a lot lower, which means your fuel is going to last a lot longer if you drive around really slowly. Of course, it's going to depend on the situation, because you don't want to be driving around really slowly all the time if you're being chased by police. Of course, you're not going to be driving economically there. But if you, for example, are really far away from any kind of gas station, you're going to have to change how you're driving to actually make it there in time if you're running low on fuel, because if you just like gun it, you're not going to make it there. But as I've been driving around, you should probably have noticed that my fuel level has gone down quite a bit, and you can actually configure how quick your fuel level goes down when you're using 100% throttle. And it's this option here called fuel time. So this is how long it would take to drain your tank from full if you're driving around with 100% throttle all of the time. But yeah, so I could set my fuel level to decrease very, very quickly through this option. So I could set it to like 3.3 or something. There we go. And yeah, it's just a cool little option you can tweak if you want to make it so you can drive further or less on any one tank of fuel. But now we're running a bit low on fuel, we're going to drive back to the gas station I started the video at and fill up the car. So here we are at the gas station, and you just drive up to any of the gas pumps, and once you've come to a standstill, all you have to do is hold down a button and you refuel your tank. Now there is an option here which you can configure. One option allows you to just like press the button once and it will refuel your tank to full. You don't have to hold it down, and there's another option where you can even refuel instantly. So that's basically it for the refueling process. Very, very simple. Just pull up to a gas station, and the gas stations on the map are indicated by these little markers here, the jerry cans. So if you go through the map, you can see all the different locations of all the gas stations which you can drive to refuel your car, and stuff like that. So only one thing remains for me to show you, and that is what happens and the behaviour of the car when you start to run low on fuel. Now, a cool thing about how this mod calculates how much fuel you're using is that it means that even if you're not moving, as long as you're using the throttle, you can still lose fuel. So, well, burn fuel, not lose fuel. It doesn't just like fall out the bottom of your car. That doesn't make any sense. But anyway, yeah. So with other fuel mods, it's always been calculated on distance driven. So if you drive really far, it then works out how much fuel you've used based on how far you've driven. But this one works based on throttle, as I mentioned earlier. And basically the advantage of that is if I right now do a burnout, you can see that my fuel level is going down. And just the fact that right now I'm doing a front wheel burnout in a Mini is just the most ridiculous thing. I mean, this car surely doesn't even have enough power to do a burnout, but apparently it is. Look at it go. Oh my god. But now let's go for a quick drive, and I'll show you what happens when we start to run really low on fuel. So, you can see now that I'm running really low on fuel, and we've got a little notification in the bottom left there that tells us that our fuel level is running very low. And when you start to run low on fuel, what the mod's actually going to do is it's going to give you a route to the nearest gas station on your minimap. Now, as I continue to drive, I'll start to lose power. It's really hard to see it in the video, but I can tell you what's happening. Basically, I'm using 100% throttle, and the car just isn't accelerating anymore. It's quite slow, the engine's actually starting to cut out a bit, and the car's just getting slower and slower, and eventually, as you can see, the engine's just completely cut out. But all is not lost if you've run out of fuel on the side of the road, because if you have a jerry can, you can actually refuel your car on the spot. So let's just change to holding a jerry can in our hand, like so. And I almost got hit by a car there. That's not actually part of the process. That was very close call. But all you have to do is walk up to the vehicle and hold down the right button on the controller. And you can see now there's an invisible man holding a jerry can, refueling a Mini on the side of a busy highway. Nothing to see here, guys. Nothing at all. Nothing suspicious about this. Just some paranormal activity. Anyway, so we've refueled the car now. You don't get much out of the jerry can, but it does give you enough to hopefully get to the nearest gas station. But let's just get back in the car and see how much fuel we've got out of that. So you can see the jerry can has given us about a quarter of a tank of fuel, which the idea is it's kind of like a lifeline, so you get just about enough fuel to get to the nearest gas station where you can continue to fill up your car. But there is one final thing I want to show you that's in this mod. So if I go to the top of Mount Chiliad, here we go. We'll go here. Don't know why. I don't know why you'd want to set a fuel station at the top of Mount Chiliad, but why not? You are going to be pretty far from any fuel station if you're at the top of Mount Chiliad, so it'd be good to set one up there. So let's go to the marker, and this is going to be on top of the sloped roof. Yes, it is. Look at that. Perfect location for a fuel station. And that rhymed. That was pretty nice. But yeah, so if you go to the fuel stations option, you can create a fuel station here. Gas station created. Look at that. And now, when you're at the top of Mount Chiliad on this slope, you can refuel your car by pressing A. Look at that. So here we go. We're on top of the roof, and it's now a fuel station, which is pretty nice. So I can just hold it down, and I'm refueling my car on the top of Mount Chiliad. Oh, dude, that's a pretty cool feature. I didn't even know that existed, but now I do. Oh my god. That is one spectacular view. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll be seeing you next mod showcase.